Welcome to the VHS Vault, which with myself, VHS Jace, and Jason Roy Gaston.
I will eat your soul.
And if you can't tell, we're doing a family film tonight on the VHS Vault. if you haven't seen by the banner, if you haven't seen it by the thumbnail, we are, of course, doing The Evil Dead. Now, we have this...
It was in me, and then it ran away, screaming. I don't know why. I don't know what was going on with that.
Yeah, it was like, nah, this is too much for even me.
Nope.
Now,
out. Nope.
I'm out. I'm gone. Can't deal with that. Now, this is something we've had planned for a while. And we were supposed to record it today as organised, but I forgot. So I've watched this film this morning for breakfast. Just to go back.
Pairs well with pancakes and bacon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A bit of maple syrup, making sure, even adding a bit
syrup.
Of red dye into it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I was right there with you. As soon as I woke up this morning, this was the first movie I watched. Because I have been without internet all week. And they just turned my internet back on, and all of I don't have physical media anymore. I'm an idiot. So I bought this on Amazon because I knew this was coming, and then couldn't watch it. And I tried watching it on my phone and pairing it with my TV. It wouldn't work. I tried watching it on my phone, and I'm just sitting there with my old man glasses, like, just couldn't do it. So I just marathoned everything this morning, and
wonderful.
Yeah, my friend joined me to watch it and didn't make it all the way through.
Really? Why? Was bored? Was horrified?
No, we'll get to that here in just a minute.
Okay.
Well, I am going to say he's not wrong. And I agree with the reason why he bailed.
Yeah. Oh, I might know what the scene you're referring to.
Yes, I think everyone who's seen this movie knows what scene we are referring to.
Now, the lore of this film when I was a kid was huge. Like, I'm old enough, you're a bit too young, I think, Jason, to remember when this film came out.
You're younger than you.
And hearing the stories like my older brothers and cousins talking about this film and how horrifying it is. And it put some fear into me enough that I didn't watch it until it was on video in the mid-'80s. And then it stood up to I remember being a kid and absolutely terrified of this film and loved it. And then became a film I watched a couple more of a teenager, but haven't particularly watched this Evil Dead in over 25 years until I had my Wheaties this morning. And honestly, there are some things that struck me straight off the bat in a very positive way, Jace.
I had a slightly different experience growing up. I actually was not aware of this movie until I was a teenager. And the only reason why I was aware of it was because I was walking through a video store one day. You see, kids, video stores is where we used to find our movies at. It was like Amazon, but it was a store that had actual physical media in it. And they were on VHS. But
or beta if you're really poor. Beta Max.
Beta.
We call beta. Yeah.
Beta. Anyway,
poor people's VHS.
Oh yeah, those never caught on over here, so we don't know. So anyway, I was not aware of this movie until I happened to find a VHS copy of Evil Dead 2. Because I just remember the skull with the eyeballs just kind of looking at you sideways, giving you the side eyes like that. I thought that is very striking. That is very disturbing. I wonder what those movies are about. And so I watched the first Evil Dead, and I watched the rest of them. I don't think you could call me like a huge fan of this series, but I certainly have some appreciation for most of it. I do have issue with this movie a few times for various reasons, but I do respect this movie. But this is about exploring the good and the bad, so I'm going to be talking about both.
the things that kind of struck me the very positively early on were actually Sam Raimi's direction.
Oh
This
yeah.
film is shot so innovatively for 1981. The use of POV in this film, going through the woods or going over the lake or following the car, is just phenomenal. The way it builds the atmosphere. And something that wasn't really being done a lot back then. He took the camera and made it a key, well, a kind of key character in the film.
Yes,
It's
and
great.
did it all by just taping a camera to a 2x4 and having people run through the woods with it. One, it is very off-putting because you have the suspense of what's coming, what's going through the woods, what is it? And two, it is effectively cost saving because you don't have to have a monster. You don't have to have a special effect. It's just the camera running through the woods. I like to think whenever, somebody sees it coming and they're screaming because it's just some guy with the camera running right towards them.
Yeah. Which is,
Oh my
look, it
gosh, it's the
works really
POV
well in
monster.
this. Yeah. Raimi's direction really shines in this too. The way he does his close-ups, the way, like I said, he moves the camera, the way he frames his multiple characters in one frame. It's Sam Raimi really showing off his after film school skills here.
Yes.
And that's another positive, I think, out of this
Because the
film.
dude was only 20 when he made this movie.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
The special effects is something else I want to give a big tick to, because low budget special effects, especially gore, sometimes, it can come off bad. But the makeup and special effects for the gore are really good, even by, I mean, you can tell they're a bit dated now, but even by today's standards, I go, you know what? They're not bad at all.
No, you cannot fault the guerrilla style special effects in this movie. You could definitely tell they were pinching every penny and they got their mileage out of it. I
Yeah.
I admire that. I admire that so much about this movie.
Yeah, and I wanted to get all these positive things up front, kind of there. I also think Bruce Campbell, you can start to see some of his acting chops on display here. I thought he did very well with the material he had. He was young as well, but there are moments of Bruce Campbell, future Bruce Campbell, you can see here growing. So I thought he did really well. But there you go, all right? So they had a good idea. They had not a lot of money. They did what they could out of it. Now let's get into the plot of this thing.
If we can.
If we can. All right, so it's your typical late 70s, early 80s, bunch of teenagers, bunch of young people going away. And we get our crew here. Look how young Bruce Campbell looks in that, Jace.
He's got all of his limbs attached and everything.
Yeah, and next to him obviously is his girlfriend, and next to her is his sister.
Yes.
Which is very much mentioned but kind of thrown away.
Sister.
Very, very
So Bruce
Sister.
Campbell has a sister.
And then you got the guys up the front, which I don't have a picture of, but this dude here, who, when you want to talk about, we're going to get into some acting performances here. Oh my, he wasn't ready for this movie.
Not a lot of them were.
Not a lot of them were.
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
This movie was not going to win acting Oscars. No, at all. And I hate to say it because I love the guy to pieces.
No.
But Bruce Campbell was really not that good in this movie either. And
I think you've been a little bit harsh.
I'm sorry. Bruce, I love you. You just had a rocky start is all. Now, yes, you said, yeah, every now and again, future Bruce Campbell peeks out and goes, "How you doing?" But overall, not good. I don't really think any of them did that good in this movie. Now, I will say that when Bruce is by himself near the, almost like the last half of the movie, it's a lot better. But when he's interacting with other people, it's not good.
The actresses, I will give them props for when they become, I'm going to call them witches.
You can't give them props. They couldn't afford props for this movie.
No, but, they're witches, basically, I would say, like demon witches.
They're deadites. They weren't
Deadites.
called that yet, but they're Deadites.
Deadites. They're Deadites, but they're kind of playing very witch-like characters. And they pull off the demon parts quite well, I thought.
They do.
Yeah, they do. You know,
there is a lot of a technique in this movie, and I'm not exactly sure where it happens, but there is something in this movie called fake shemping. If you are not familiar with this term, the Three Stooges owed Columbia Pictures a certain number of shorts. And this was after the first Curly passed away, or how he retired, and then the other Howard brothers, Shemp, came in, and they were the Three Stooges again. Well, unexpectedly, Shemp died, and the Three Stooges still owed Columbia like 3 or 4 more shorts, and so they took old footage of Shemp by himself doing his usual things, and then whenever it was all 3 of them, they had a stand-in who would never face the camera. He would have like the hair down in front of his face, and that's called fake shemping. It's whenever an actor is not there to fill their parts, and so they have a stand-in to fake the shemp. They had to fake shemp some actors in this movie because a lot of the actors walked off the set and left.
Really?
And so
Why?
that is because the conditions inside the cabin were terrible. They were... Let me see. I had that up here, and then I dropped my phone, and then I lost it. So I'm just going to have to do this by memory, and I may get a couple of things wrong. It is not purposeful, but the conditions inside the cabin, which they were actually using for lodging as well, was awful. It was wet. It was gross, and it was cold. By the end of the shoot, they were actually breaking the furniture that they had in the cabin to burn for firewood. Now, this cabin, unfortunately, is not around anymore. It burned down, and ironically, the only thing that's left is the fireplace, which the Evil Dead crew added to the cabin so that the cabin could have a fireplace. Yes.
That's
all the actors left the production. However, there was still much of the film to be completed. Most of the second half of the film features Bruce Campbell and various stand-ins to replace the actors who left. So I don't know if it was
common knowledge that Sam Raimi is difficult to work with.
Yeah, so I don't know if they left because of the conditions or they left because they thought they were done. But yeah, a lot of the Deadites at the end of the movie are not the original actors.
Oh, okay. Hence the improvement in performance.
Yes. Maybe Bruce just needed better actors to go off of. I don't know. Bruce has always been kind of a sarcastic actor anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe it just didn't work with him. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and hence there's evidence of that when we talk about the next film, when we go into Evil Dead 2, which is basically a remake.
Yes.
However, with this film, look, it's pretty rudimentary. They go, but it starts to get weird pretty early on. I like the scene where her hand gets possessed and she draws quite impressively, actually, with a shaking hand, the Necronomicon. Which I'm calling the Notebook version of Necro, because it's quite small in this. Did you notice? It's like they haven't gone the full A4 size.
They add more stuff to it as the movies go.
Yeah. But there are some key images in the Necronomicon that remain throughout all versions. The eyeball one is one of that shot, I think, is another.
A warning that says "Don't read" right before they read.
Yeah, don't read.
Don't read, you idiots. Yeah.
You know what really works for atmosphere as well? They've got the right location. They're shooting it correctly. The music's not even too bad. It's building up. But to me, I really love when they find the tape and they play the tape. And the guy's voiceover. So flat, so kind of matter of fact, but chilling in its own way. And really great to go, there's some shit just about to happen. So I do think this movie wins for some Hollywood atmospheric trickery because it does well in that. It builds atmosphere well.
I have to agree. Despite the fact that this movie does have multiple story problems and acting problems, you cannot use its setting or its cinematography or the general atmosphere of the movie against it. And I think that is definitely one of the film's strong points.
Okay, let's go to the worst point then. Let's just deal with this now. The tree scene.
tree scene.
Is this the scene that your friend walked
That's
out of?
that's the my friend was just like, what is happening? What is the tree
Why does it
really?
happen?
Why is the tree doing? Okay, I'm out. Yeah, and
Why does it happen in the film? I still don't understand because it actually adds nothing to it.
and
Because other
that
characters
was
get possessed in different ways. Like,
and that is my issue with the scene.
yeah,
Is that it is thrown in simply as edgelord shock value,
it's
and that is
exploitive.
it is exploitive, and that is the 20-year-old Sam Raimi trying to make the audience uncomfortable, not
Yeah,
realizing that he's already done that. So yeah,
yeah.
I have a problem with that scene because it was unnecessary. It added nothing to the plot, and it just happens for absolutely no reason at all. It's just at this point, it's just uncomfortable and cringe, and I don't know.
Gratuitously gross.
Raimi had a fetish.
Yeah,
He'd seen some Japanese things and just like, "Oh, hentai? Oh, that sounds
yeah.
interesting." And then that just opened the door to all kinds of awful, awful things. But yeah, I
You
agree with
know,
my friend whenever he bailed out. I was like, "Yeah, no, I get it. This is not good."
yeah, this isn't good. Especially, and I think you kind of hit it on the head there. They did know. I don't think Raimi understood what he had on his hands from a filmmaker point of view, because he's doing things in here that are genuinely scary. Look, the pencil through the ankle still holds up.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Great. It's a great horror, and there's some really great kind of horror stuff later on too. But yeah, this seemed like, oh, we've got to freak them out, and it really is so jarring and uncomfortable, and completely unnecessary. You don't even really tie it into the plot in any way.
It
It's
was
just
kind of a staple of the 70s where sexual
yeah,
assault was used in movies to for a cheap scare or to make people uncomfortable. And by that point,
yeah.
not only was it just unnecessary, it's been done.
It's been done. I mean, Last House on the Left was in '72,
Yeah,
and
The
that was a
Entity.
film.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
The Entity.
just
Another
I mean, if
great
we want to talk
example.
about supernatural SA, it's right there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just and
yeah,
it
yeah.
was also why is this in the movie?
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
good.
It's not good. Um, the idea of them finding the Book of the Dead, I do like. Straight away, I think what he has here is just that idea of the Necronomicon and bringing that to the cinema in such a way. It's just like you've kind of got such a great thing to build a story around. Here, they don't do that. They have a great idea. They have the concept of the Deadites and all that. But what these characters do and the stupidity of these characters is probably more uncomfortable than some of the other scenes in this film
I
for
agree.
me.
I was disappointed to learn that there's actually a 10-minute cut or a 10-minute longer cut of this movie that has never been released. I guess because the original footage is gone. But
Yeah.
it was going to deal more with Bruce Campbell's characters, Ash's characters, uh, Survivor's Guild, basically.
Hmm.
It was going to deal with the psychological damage that being the only survivor, left him, and the loneliness that basically consumes him after everyone is dead. Spoiler alert, by
His
the way.
sister and his girlfriend turn into demons.
Yeah, and he kills them, and it just never hits. It's just like he never gets a chance to catch a breath. I honestly think this movie would have been better if it had those extra 10 minutes in it, where we do get a little bit more of a look to see what it did to Ash.
Well, clearly they're both psychopaths, both the leading men in this film, either, because
Oh, yeah.
one of them doesn't really have an issue cutting up a body, later, dismembering a body. Like, the fact that they are not, like, I think Biggest Weakness, the film, this horrific, most traumatic stuff happens to them, and they don't really react like normal people would react. They're
No.
scared, but they're willing to stay in that environment and deal with it. And, like, it's just like, what do you mean? Like, no one's even really trying to get help.
No.
Like, and you try to give us this scene where the bridge is destroyed. The bridge isn't destroyed. A few planks are on the side. You can still run across the sucker. Like, just try anything to get out.
You
They
can
don't
walk,
try
it's fine.
hard enough. They don't try hard enough to get out of the situation, which straight away makes me think you're dumb.
Yeah.
You're a bunch of morons here, you know?
Well, that is the kind of movie that The Evil Dead is, though. It's kind of like taking a page from Cabin in the Woods, which took a lot of pages from The Evil Dead. Um, it is young, pretty, stupid people having horrible things happen to them, and that's really the entire plot of this movie. It's
And I
just
think Sam
young, pretty
Raimi
people get hurt.
And I think Sam Raimi had come to that realization when he saw this film, because he then went, look, this film is silly. It's
Mhm.
a silly film, and really, I should be going in 100% with the goofiness. And we get that in the next couple of films moving forward, that the humor becomes the centerpiece and the horror is around it. Here we get maybe a couple of humorous moments, but inadvertent humorous moments, but literally it's played for straight here, and I think it's one of the weaknesses of it. If you're gonna do some stupid things, I think you need to be in on the joke of what this film is, and I don't think the audience we are in on the joke, because they're not telling jokes.
They're not. It's honestly just unpleasant. I mean, you've got the horror, but there's no breaks in the tension. Every
No,
tension needs a little bit of a break, and there's none. So you find yourself inadvertently laughing at things you're not supposed to be laughing at. Whenever
mostly at the special effects is what I'm
yes, the
laughing at.
special effects and the overacting fake shimps that are in this movie, which God bless them, they did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's just you just I found myself laughing at the little girl voice, like, I was just
I do
like,
like that voice. I do like it though. But I
yeah,
love
I
it
liked it too, but I was laughing
in
at
a
it.
positive way. And I feel like the special effects guys were going, we're making a horror comedy here, right? Like everyone, I think, thought they were making a horror comedy, except for Sam Raimi, who just went, nope, we're going dead serious with this.
Stop it, you guys! This is not funny.
But
This
let's
is serious.
just
This is
highlight a
super
couple of
serious.
makeup. That's so simple makeup, but man, that's scary. I gotta say,
Yeah.
that's scary. That works for me.
Super uncomfortable contacts, from what I
Yeah,
read.
yeah.
They had to take them out every 30 minutes, otherwise it would cause
Yeah.
damage to their eyeballs.
No, really great, really great. Hey, shout out to the props guy who made the knife, by the way.
Excellent knife. It looks like something
Whoa.
from Time Bandits. Like
That's very
something that
xenomorph-like, I thought.
Yeah,
Kind of
I
gives
love
me
it.
Alien
I love it.
Resurrection vibes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, there's some great, and there's obviously the beginning of that horrible,
Well, they
unnecessary
couldn't
scene.
afford to break the bridge for
No.
real. That is such a great visual right there. It's just
It's a great idea to have her locked in the basement, because it
Yeah.
creates that constant threat all the way through it. So there
Yeah.
is some really positive things about this movie, and I would say if you are a fan of the Evil Dead franchise, I would absolutely recommend starting with this, because every long franchise has a beginning, so it is worth watching it. However, I will say that you're watching this, but the franchise gets kind of rebooted in the next one.
Yeah, I've never seen a movie get rebooted in its own sequel, and then still call it, part two, whenever it's the same movie, but done better. Very
Radically
strange.
better.
Oh, yeah.
Radically
Yeah.
different. Like he takes I think this was such a learning situation for Sam Raimi and his team. They learnt a lot from this, that they at least paid attention to what they had done, and they significantly improve upon it in the sequel without reviewing the sequel yet, which we will get to, Jace. So any last thoughts about this film? What would you say to someone out there going, hey man, I heard this movie The Evil Dead from 81 is out, should I watch it?
Honestly, I would say no.
Whoa,
I would
there we
skip
go.
the first movie if I were you, and I would go straight to part two. This movie has problems. This movie definitely betrays the amateurish nature behind it. I think that this was made before Sam Raimi kind of matured as a filmmaker. And to be honest, the ending is kind of junk. It's junk ending. Sorry, it is.
The
Junk
ending
ending.
is like, it gives you echoes of other horror franchises, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it does.
And that's
And
the problem of the time.
but that really doesn't change in the sequel either. But the sequel at least, earns that crap.
Well, the ending in the sequel we didn't know at the time, but
Yeah.
was really leading on to the movie
Yeah.
straight after. So
Which
it
is
kind of works out.
one of my favorites.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but we'll get into that then. So there you go, guys. That's what we thought of The Evil Dead. I recommend checking out. Jason says, "No way, man. Don't even bother."
Check it out as a an appendix to your Evil Dead experience after you get done with Rises. Go back to this version. What was it, like 1980? I don't even remember. 1981. Go back to the 1981 version and just see how far they came, baby.
Well, there you go. So yes, we are starting on now this journey of doing the Evil Dead franchise. Every couple of weeks we'll be addressing another film in the Evil Dead franchise, but in between that we want to be getting you guys just telling us what we should be watching. So we want your recommendations, guys, all right? And especially, you're definitely going to be highlighted if you've done the right thing and become a Patreon member of the Jason Roy Gaston, where you get lots of exclusive bits and pieces and priority picks for what we'll watch on this show.
All kinds of bits and pieces and priority
All
picks.
kinds.
Not those. Anyway,
Oh.
the information to join is in the video description below. Please do. You can join our Patreon for as little as $5 a month, which is a pittance.
Okay. Can't even get a Happy Meal for that. So there you go.
You can't
All
even
right,
get
but
a
what do
sad
we-
meal for that.
Yeah. But I have a gift this week, Jason. Well, you gave me this gift this week. We had to
Yes.
decide what we were going to watch next week. And I said, well, what are we going to watch? You know? And you went, you choose. So I thought about it. I'd thrown some
And then he
names
was
out
like,
there.
well, should I tell you? Should you be surprised? And I was like, surprise me.
I don't know what you think of this film. I have not seen it since it came out at the cinema in 1983. It's kind of a member-berry thing where I go, oh my God, I remember loving this as a kid. But I get the feeling I won't love it when we rewatch it. And I'm talking.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I actually watched that recently.
You really did you? I did not know.
Yes.
Okay, well,
it's got Michael
I'm
Eddington
sorry.
from Deep Space Nine in it.
Well, I'm sorry you have to watch it again. I don't know whether you were a fan or not. Keep it tight-lipped for now, but that's what we're watching next. Is we're going back to the 80s, and let's face it, the only reason I wanted to see this as a kid was that really great poster with the knife. Yeah,
The knife boomerang.
Boomerang thing.
He'd given that to Sokka from The Last Airbender, he would have plotzed.
So we'll be back next time. So we'll be back next time with Kroll. Don't forget to add your suggestions because we'll watch anything within reason. All right, guys. We'll catch you next time in the VHS vault. We'll see you guys.
We'll eat your soul. We'll spit on your grave. We'll kick your puppies. We will say mean things about your mother. We will be rude to your grandmother. We will scratch your car with our keys. We will.
Okay, that's going too far.
Okay, fine.